Yeah, yeah. See them a pre, people thinks them a pre. Yeah, yeah. Some of them know our word.
Good morning and welcome to the first edition of Serious Business for 2016. To start out this episode, I am going to tell you a story of a young man named John. John is not a real name. John is a fictitious name I made up, but the individual in question is a real human being. John had a problem with me. John used to see me and he used to use very derogatory remarks towards me. He used to call me names, all kind of derogatory names because of who I was. We used to constantly be in arguments. John didn't like me. I thought he didn't like me. And I used to see him when I went to the airport to pick up money from a person who came from Barbuda and he delivered the money to me to take to a homosexual man that lives in Villa, a homosexual businessman that lives in Villa. One day I went to the airport to collect money, and as John was accustomed to, he would say things about me. He would point at me and laugh and always be a real jackass. This one day I was in my friend's shop, my friend in Villa's shop, and something happened to my car, so my car was not parked outside of the shop. So I was in my friend's shop. I was sitting down on a couch he has in the shop, and we were talking. All of a sudden a young man came into the shop, and the young man looked a lot like John. I mean, in fact, I was sure the young man was John. And John didn't see me because I was seated in a position in the shop where anybody coming into the shop couldn't actually see me. So I kept quiet because I wanted to hear, what John was doing inside of this known homosexual's shop. Because, John was very homophobic. He hated all gays. He wanted to see all of them dead. So what was he doing in this man's shop? This was so awkward to me. This was so bizarre. What was such a homophobic guy? A guy that hated all gays? A guy that wanted all gays dead? What was he doing in my friend's shop, who is a known, unapologetic homosexual? What was he doing in my friend's shop? Making jokes and making, jokes with a, sexual tone. What was he doing in the shop? What was he doing getting money from my friend who was a known homosexual? This guy, he wasn't homophobic at all. He was just putting on a facade. You understand me? If you hate gays, you won't take their money. You won't go into their shop. You won't be joking with them and, making sexual jokes with them. It doesn't make sense. John is so characteristic of so many of you young men, you men, you citizens of this country. You only pretend to be homophobic and pretend to hate gays when it suits you. When you have something to gain, you're not homophobic. If you're looking for a job or you're looking for sponsorship for your sports team, you're not homophobic anymore. So, for 2016, people of Antigua, you need to take a stance. It's either you're homophobic or you're not homophobic. What about our sound men, our DJs? when you go to a clash or you go to a dance, I mean, every other song is homophobic or burning out gays. And my favorite song is from Busy Signal, Can't Buy We Out. A lot of you should really take a listen to that song. You understand me? Because if a lot of you took a listen to Busy Signal's song, you really would not do some of the things you do. What does Busy Signal say in his song? He said no man can buy him out. How many of you sound men can say that no man can buy you out? Honestly, how many of you can say that? A lot of you have gay politicians buying cars for you off of Japanese websites. A lot of you sound guys have men paying for your speakers, rich influential Syrians paying for your speakers, your sound systems, whatever you have to buy. And then you go on a mic and sing, Can't Buy We Out. Come on, come on. A lot of you already get buy out a long time. What about our police officers? I have noticed that a lot of our police officers try to be cool. I mean, they hear the guys on the corner, talking negatively about gays and LGBT people, lesbian, gays, bisexual, transgender people. And a lot of these police officers try to be cool and try to join them and pretend like, oh, they're not protecting gays and all these things. Come on, officers. You do not have the moral ground to take such a stand when so many of your members are known homosexuals. I mean, there have been so many scandals with police officers in their secret homosexual lives. Several years ago, an officer almost lost his job when pictures of him having anal intercourse with a man surfaced on email. I mean, there's so many homosexuals in our armed forces, in our police force. They rank from constable and they go all the way up. There's so many gays in our force. The gays in the police force are the threads that hold the fabric of the police force together. They take part in everything. Police Week, they're ever present in the plays, in the fashion shows. I mean, the gays are everywhere in the police force. So why is it that we have so many top managers who are gays in the police force and there's still so much homophobia in the force? Selective homophobia. I mean, a lot of police officers, if a man were to see a gay officer and pass negative remarks, they would lock him up. They would lock him up for passing negative remarks about a gay police officer. And at the end of the day, they would probably deny and say that he's not gay. But then, why do they not want to offer the same protection to a normal citizen who is in the same position? I mean, it doesn't make sense. How can we have homophobia in a police force that is largely gay? It doesn't make sense. In closing, I leave you with this message. Be real to yourself. Be real to your family in 2016. Realize that LGBT people, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people are everywhere in our society. They are they're your children, they're your sons, they're your daughters, they're the men you sleep with. Some of them are the politicians we vote for. They're our police officers. They're everywhere. The same love that we show to the LGBT people that are close to us, that we love for whatever reason, we need to be willing to show the same respect to every member in the LGBT community. We cannot be homophobic when we have nothing to gain, when it's people who we don't care about, and then take off our homophobic cap. When it's a politician, we can get favors from. When it's our fellow police officer, when it's a politician, we can go and get sponsor for our sports team for. When it's a designer who we can call to design gowns at carnival, we need to stop our hypocrisy. We need to treat all people in the community with respect. This has been Serious Business, and I'm your host, Cherise Rambo.
Yeah, see them a pre.
So sit up.
People thinks them a pre. No boy can buy me out. No man a wear name brand pon the ends and a hide. But the thugs them find him out.